I'm Al.
And I'm Stick.
We know life isn't all about cooking.
It's also about baking.
And what's the most important ingredient while baking?
Beer.
So we're going to show you how to make a delicious bread with the finest beer money can buy outside of Massachusetts. Yingling.
Hope you enjoy.
Hi, I'm Alan,
I'm Stick.
And I'm Chris.
and today we're going to talk about baking beer bread.
Now, beer bread is an excellent, delicious treat just because it's so simple to use. Every college dorm has or should have all of the ingredients to make it. And it just comes out delicious. You can eat it with dinner. You can eat it after dinner. You can eat it as dessert. It's great. So what we're going to start doing is by scooping a cup of flour into a measuring cup. You don't want to pack down flour because it'll get lumpy, and you want to make it nice and powdered. And we're going to put that into a mixing bowl. And we're going to make that 2 cups of flour into a mixing bowl.
Now, the way you measure flour, as Stick briefly mentioned, is by doing it this method. If you pack down the flour, you're going to end up using much, much more flour than the recipe calls for. And
Also, we're going to make
easy
that 3
air
cups.
inside This is a very forgiving recipe.
Not quite. You need to follow this recipe a little closer than others.
I would say this is the most unforgiving recipe we've made.
Baking has to be pretty exact. So after you add flour, we're going to add 1,
At least 1 tablespoon.
2, 3 tablespoons of sugar. And baking powder. It looks like 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Now, don't get that confused with baking soda. Baking soda and baking powder are 2 very different substances. I know you can make one with the other, but I'm not sure with what, so we suggest just using baking powder.
Baking powder is baking soda with some acid in it.
With cream of tartar, I believe.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't recommend trying to substitute it. Just go out and get the right thing.
And you should refrigerate it when it's not in use. It stops chemical reactions from happening.
That's baking soda, not baking powder.
No, that's baking powder. Baking soda makes your fridge smell nice.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Anyways, after the baking powder, we added a teaspoon of salt, and that is 1 12-ounce bottle of warm beer. We suggest using a lager, a heavy lager. Yingling is the best beer that you could use for this. Any other beer would be fine, but Yingling definitely has the best flavor, and it just tastes delicious in the bread.
You shouldn't use whatever the freshmen get upperclassmen to buy for them.
Exactly.
It's not worth it.
Natty Light.
No, it needs to be a very flavorful, heavy beer. And you want to mix it, but you want to keep some of the lumps in it. You don't want to make it really smooth. You just want to mix it so that everything is a little bit wet. It still needs to be a little lumpy and battery. And also, I believe we forgot to mention, you're probably going to want to preheat the oven to about 350 to 375 degrees.
So you should get on that right now.
Because you need that in about 3 minutes.
Now, don't pour it in quite yet to make sure that you spray down this pan, or you're going to have a very hard time getting it out. I should mention that the problem we have here is that we make these meals, and then this has been 2 weeks since we've made it, and we're now just watching it for the first time and commenting on it. So it's not like we make the meal and sit down and comment on it. So we've kind of forgotten what we've done.
And I'm 100 miles away. I have no idea what they do.
Also,
it's in a baking pan.
By this time you should have melted some butter.
What is that, like 2 tablespoons?
It's just about a quarter of a stick of butter. And you want to put that on top, and what that does is it just makes a nice brown, thick crust, nice crunchy crust on the top of the bread, and very good, very delicious.
So here's the oven, which you've been pre-warned to preheat. And how long did you put this in for?
15 to 17 minutes. And but you want to keep a good eye on it. Bread is something that could easily burn, and any too long or too short really will mess up the bread.
Now, the best way you can tell if it's done is by sticking a knife or fork in it, and you shouldn't have any liquidy bread kind of sticking to the fork. If anything sticks to the fork or knife, it's not ready yet. All right, so here it is out of the pan. You can see the nice brown coating we've got because of the butter.
It's a very thick bread, too, so even though this looks small, it will go very far.
Yes, very, very thick. And we don't have an exact price on this. Now, I should mention, this is cooled a long time before Stick just grabbed that pan. Please don't do that immediately after it comes out of the oven.
Although I have been known to be a bit overzealous with my cooking style and grabbing things before I should.
But the most expensive part of this was that one bottle of Yingling. And for those of you familiar with Yingling, you know it's very, very cheap despite its good taste. So this is a pretty inexpensive snack to make for yourselves. All right, so, well, these are slow credits.
Very dramatic.
Yep.
You should have the end music of the Hulk playing over it.
I suggest putting a little butter on the bread and microwaving it for a little bit or toasting it. It's absolutely delicious. Thank you for watching.
See you next time.
Goodbye.
Oh, God, they're still going.